Welcome to this video, where we will talk about the movie Terminator Genisys. We will begin by exploring the movie storyline, summarizing its plot, and discuss the cast and characters. Then we will take a closer look at the film production details and box office performance. Finally, we will share review and audience reaction to give you a well-rounded perspective. Let's get started. Movie spoiler for the film. Kyle Reese remembered what his parents told him of the world before Judgment Day. He never got to witness it, but he heard it was beautiful. On 29 August 1997, Skynet took over and unleashed Judgment Day upon the world. Massive explosions are seen hitting San Francisco, killing millions of people and destroying the city. As a child, Kelsey is running through the sewer to avoid the one of them corners him in the darkness until it is shot down by the resistance leader, John Connor. He takes Kelly with him, and Kelly grows up fight alongside John as they try to stop Skynet once and for all. In 2029, John and Kelly fight with their until infiltrate. In 2029, John and Kelly fight with their until to infiltrate the last Skynet base to take their secret weapon, the time machine that sent to Terminator to pass to kill John's mother Sarah Connor. Although Kelly is not immediately convinced the mission will work, John pursues him to continue fighting alongside him. He then gives Kelly a picture of Sarah. John gives a Russian speech to other residents. Fight over before Kelly filters the Skynet base using a John gives a rousing speech to the other residents. Fighter before Kelly infiltrates the Skynet base using a dead Terminator to enter. The other Terminator can eat and can see it so functional. Those three start shooting at the Kelly trucks. He donates several explosives, killing them's Terminator and alarm them. Other fighter to attack. Skynet flying machines attack, shooting down some fighters in the battle. Suddenly, all the machines go fallen and fall. The fighters think they are won. They go down to the storage facility to find the time machine. John tells the fighter what happened with the Terminator and his mother, and he asks for a volunteer to go back and stop them. Because if Sarah dies, then he is never born, and all the victors will be undone. The original T-800 is already sent back to 1984 Los Angeles to carry out the ask. Many opt to go back in the time, but Kelly ultimately steps forward and decides to go since he knows as much about Sarah as John based on what he told her. John agrees and Kelly steps into the machine. As he is being sent back in the time, Kelly sees on the Resistance fighter Alam with his arm glowing as he guards John. He whispers, "You did not think it was going to be that easy, did you?" To join, Kelly calls out to John as he is sent back. In the time jump, Kelly sees flashback of a childhood he never lived. Before Judgment Day, he sees himself on 13th birthday receiving a table of the Genisys. And in the time jump, Kelly sees flashback of a childhood he never lived before Judgment Day. He sees himself on his 13th birthday receiving a table for the Genisys, an operating system that is set to go online soon in this timeline. The young Kelly looks in the mirror and he repeats, "Genisys is the Skynet and that it's ready to deactivate in 2017. He also sees himself with his Sarah, who tracks her fighter in the flame of his gang. He also sees him plans with the Sarah who trace her fighter in the palm of his hand saying, "A straight line, you keep moving forward and never look back." The T-800 approach the troop of punk to get in the close before anything else can happen. An aged T-800, which Sarah has the nickname Pops, arrive and shoots at the original T-800. The two Terminator fight and the Pop each other skin off. From a distance, Sarah uses a spinner flip to shoot the original throughout the chest, killing it. Kelly arrives in 1984 nude. He takes the pants of the homeless man as a cop, pulls up by the alley where Callie landed and he chases after him. Callie quickly learned that this man is also a Terminator. The space-shifting T-1000 Callie runs into a clothing store and the garbage are shut. Two actual cops find him and decap him. The T-1000 kills the older cop while Callie and the younger cop hide. When it looked like the T-1000 has them cornered, a truck blows on the store and smugs the T-1000. Sarah opens the door and yells to Callie, "Comes with me if you want to alive." Callie does so and hops in the truck with her. Sarah apparently already knows who Callie is and what he was sent back in time to do. She tells him they already killed the Terminator sent back to kill her and she knows about Skynet, Judgment Day and her own son. Callie is surprised to see Sarah Terminator Pops is working with her. In a panic, Callie tries to shoot him, but Pops knocks Callie out. While he unconscious Pop and Sarah decision how she already know that she is supposed to fall in love with Callie and the convince John, but she does not want to hear about it. Meanwhile, the T-1000 follow them using a piece of his liquid metal to track them. The T-1000 catches up with them and attacks. Callie comes to and shoots at the T-1000 police cruiser, causing it to blow up. They try lead the T-1000 into the sewer, using its liquid metal. He rescues the dead T-800 which attacks Callie. Callie manages to knock its head off, destroying it for good. Sarah finds himself in a floor-beneficial multiply waste of acid. Callie runs to her, saying he hurt until another Callie runs by. None of them is the T-1000. Sarah tries to find out who is the imposter. She shoots at the T-1000 foot, which splatters the liquid metal. Sarah tells the real Callie to run as she shoots the acid waste to hit the T-1000. He nearly captures up to the Sarah until Pops garbage him and holds him, benefit the acid until he is the completely disinjured. Sarah tells Callie how Pop was sent to her in 1973 when she was a child and voted that nobody would hurt her. When she was a child and he vowed that nobody would hurt her. She and Pops bring Callie to a place where they have their own time machine. Sarah wants to jump. Sarah tells Callie how Pops was sent to her in 1973 when she was a child and he voted that nobody would hurt her. She and Pops bring Callie to a place where they have their own time machine. Sarah wants to jump back to 1997 to prevent Judgment Day, but Callie remembers the flashback he saw and is convinced that they need to jump to 2017 when Genisys is set to go live. Sarah is unconvinced until Callie tells her what he saw. Pops know what he talking about and say he went through a Nexus point that created and the alternative timeline. Pops know what he talking about and say he went through a Nexus point that they created and the alternate timeline, which happened the moment Callie researched out for the John when he saw him. Being excited in 2029, Sarah finally agreed to go back to 2017. She and Callie undress for the machine as they talk about Callie time with the John. Pope stay being since his arm was damaged by the acid and he needs time for the teaser to repair. So he will spend the next 33 years waiting for the Sarah and Callie to return. The two arrive in 2017 in the middle of the highway. They are nearly hit by a car until Callie garbage Sarah and gets slammed against the foreman of the car. They are approached by Detective Catch and LT. Matricia Pop sees them. Now more angry with grey hair. Sarah and Callie are taken to hospital. There they are met by a man named O'Brien, who happened to be the cop that survived the T-1000 attack back in 1984. He knows there's something usual about Sarah and Callie. Sarah noticed one of the doctor with a Genisys countdown on his phone and texts and asks about. Sarah and Kelly are taken to hospital. There they are met by a man named O'Brien, who happened to be the Pope who happened to be the cop that survived the T-1000 attack back in 1984. He knows there's something unusual about Sarah and Kelly. Sarah noticed one of the doctors with a Genisys countdown on his phone and he asked about it. She and the Kelly learned that Genisys is an operating system set to link up with every electronic device in the world, meaning it's basically Skynet in the making. Mistia also mentioned to them that after running their prints, it looked like Sarah is the only one that is off the grid, but the Glyce print much that the Kyle Reese in the timeline, who is 12 years old. Their 30s leave. When Homeland Security arrives, moments later, Sarah and Kelly are met by John. He has them cuffed to officer when they enter the room. He convinced Sarah that he is her son when he mentioned that she would sing him Rocket Man as a child, but he jokes that her swing is awful. They go to the parking area where John calls Kelly dad, leading John and the Sarah to admit what Kelly never knew, that he is to be John Connor's father. Kelly is confused and upset until they met by Pops holding a giant teddy bear. He concealing a gun, which he uses to shoot John. Kelly then thinks that Pops really is a Meteor's Terminator until the bolt around John turns into the machine particles. John explained that when he was attacked in 2029, he was turned into a Terminator, the T-3000 by Alex. He convinced John that the reason that could not prevent Judgment Day was because of him and his better off as and the access to they dare to go the parking area where John sells Kelly dad, leading John and Sarah to admit what Kelly never knew, that he is to be John Connor's father. Kelly is confused and upset until they are met by Pops holding a giant teddy bear. He concealing a gun, which he uses to shoot John. Kelly then think that Pops really is a Meteor's Terminator until the blood around John turns into machine particles. John explained that when he was attacked in 2029, he was turned into a Terminator. The T-3000 by Alex. He convinced John that the reason they did not prevent Judgment Day was because of him, and he is better off as an assist to Skynet than he is as their enemy. He tries to convince his presents to join him, but they refuse. John attacks and the Pops fight him. They crash into the hospital and problem near an MRI machine. The magical pole holds John back long enough for their three to escape. When John Connor, leader of the human resistance against Skynet, sends Kyle Reese back to 1984 to protect his mother, Sarah from a Terminator assistant, an unexpected turn of the events creates an alternate timeline. Instead of the scare waiters, Sarah is a skilled father and has a Terminator guardian by her side. Faced with unlikely aliens, when John Connor, leaders of the human resistance against Skynets, sent Kyle Reese back to 1894 to protect his mother Sarah from a Terminator, Asian and unexpected turn of events create an the alternate timeline. Inside of the scare waitress, Sarah is a skilled fighter and has a Terminator guardian by her side. Faced with the unlikely aliens and the dangerous new enemies, Reese set out on an unexpected new mission: reset the futures. I went into Terminator Genisys with the zero expectations. The trailer were generally terrible and I was almost reluctant to see just how bad this was going to be, so it did not really disappoint in that respect. There is very little to like about this film, and it's a million miles from the dispersion stone of the original two Terminators. Every single action scene has to have a shifty and funny one line which takes away everything resembling tension, trouble, and I was almost resolute to see just how has this was going to be, so it did not really disappoint in that respect. There is very little to like about this film, and it's a million miles from the disproportions tone of the original two Terminators. Every single action scene has to have a shifty and funny one-liner which takes away anything resembling tension. Emilia Clarke was modestly Macy cast as Sarah Connor, lacking and kind of the empathy. At no point did I care about her character. She did not even come across as the tough, just a pain in the ass. I was actually on the side of the Skynet for this movie. Jai Courtney brings his brand of the balancedness to the normally intense characters of the Kyle Reese, displaying no personality whatsoever. Reese is supposed to be this despair future solid who has life a Hellenist extents. He was kind of very looking and the Michael Bain, and he's this crazy look in his eyes where you question if he was in fact in science after all. In this movie he has abs and even come across a tough, just a pain in the ass. I was actually on the side of the Skynet for this movie. Gia Courtney brings his brand of the balancedness to the normally intense characters of the Calories, displaying no personality whatever. Reese is supposed to be these disruptors, future soldiers who has life a heinous extents. He was kind of the very looking anti-Michael Bain, has his crazy look in his eyes, where you question if he was in fact insane after all. In this movie, he has abs and the perfect teeth, never looking like he has been a single battle in his life. And Nord returns as the Terminator, which was sent back in time to perfect Sarah Connor rather than kill her. Instead of being an emotions killing machine, he is now called Pops by Sarah, who sees him as a father figure. This is easily the worst idea of the interior franchise. Thus, 4 and the Terminator is now basically just a joke. You can't help but feel I like they are shoving Aaron into the story. In this movie, he has abs and the perfect teeth ever, looking like he has been in the single battle in his life, and not written as the Terminator, which was sent back in time to protect Sarah Connor rather than kill her. Instead of being an emotions killing machine, he is now called Pops by Sarah, who seems him as a father future. This is easily the worst idea of the interior franchise. Thus far, and the Terminator is now basically just a joke. You can't help but feel like they are the Aaron into the story, especially trying to justify why he looks older. I used to want to see Aaron come back as the evil T-800, but why bother? We have already seen it, and he will never better what he did in the 1984 classic. I don't see any way to keep this franchise relevant, and this new movie, like the grief of the first two vehicles, will never be captured again. The first 30 minutes are set during the feature wars, and it was we as a fans want to see. I don't see any way to keep his franchise relevant, as this new movie lack are the gift of the first 2 weeks will never be captured again. The first 30 minutes are set during the future wars, and is what we as fans went to see. Basically, the opinion scenes of the Terminator 2 as an interior movie with the real scenes of the terror and the dread. Of course, we never get that, and it does not take longer for the Genesis to go into the overall complicated time travel plot. The music score from the Laurent Belfi Incorrupters brand fiddle icon them at the end and a few times throughout the film, but it mostly forgettable like the movie itself. There is nothing you will give any thought of the after weekend Genesis aside from what did I just watch again. Byung Lee was posted in a small role as a T-1000, which we will seen before, and that the problem with this movie. At no point will you think, wow, I have never seen anything like that. Take longer for Genesis to go into the overall complicated time travel plot. The music score from the Lord Baffley incorporates brand files, iconic them at the end and a few times throughout the film, but it's mostly forgettable like the movie itself. There is nothing you will give any thought to after watching Genesis aside from what did I just watch again. Byung-Hun Lee was visited a small role as a T-1000 which we'll call all seen before and that. The problem with this movie, at no point will you think, wow, I have never seen anything like that before. Remember after Terminator 2 for the first time and Robert Patrick T-1000 morphos through the boards at the Pasador Mental Hospital. It was new and exacting. Nothing in this movie will make you think that as it is the just more of the same. Every action scene is done with the CG overload and there is very little that ever thrills or the execute, so by the time the credits roll you will so hello. Movie will make you think that as it just more of the same. Every action scene is done by with the CG overload and there is very little that every thriller or executed, so by the time the credits roll if you fall how. I was watching Terminator 2 recently as it's one of my all-time favorite films and you sometimes forget how masterful cameraman was at the directing those movies. He brought heart and the soul to the story but also had some humor, just not too much. The script was really lacking in the Genesis and it did not have really memorable lines like if a machine can learn the value of human life, maybe we can too. I hated what they did with the characters of John Connor, which was the run by the trailer anyway, but it like the don't know what to do with him. Here's an idea, show us the final features, words and what he does to actually stop Skynet once and for all. Overall, the first two Terminator films will always be the best and so for Salvation is the only other sequel I thought had some interesting ideas. It had the last attempt to show us the beginning of the future war and I would have liked to see where that went rather than filmmakers constantly trying to robot the franchise. Genesis is a generally horrible movie which is only redeemed by the first 20 minutes set in the future but the reset is as lifeless as the Terminator themselves. Terminator Genisys review. And not bad, but does it matter? There is an alarming trend in the remark reports that has surrounded up over the past few years that I first noticed with a pair of 2013 release. Career and the old boy, instead of finding any sort of new angle into the story. There is an alarming trend in the remark reports that has surrounded up over the past few years that I first noticed with a pair of 2013 release, Career and the Old Boy, instead of finding any sort of new angle into the story. They were both intentionally short for the short remarks of the original, but with a shiny new cast for the 21st century to launch onto. With that being said, Terminator Genisys does not qualify as such, since it does have a few new things to offer, but it's still crafted in a way that does not pay homage to the movie that came before it, but become a slave to them, bombarding us with based upon familiar best that is probably supposed to evoke fond memories from the original, but instead delights and complicates any semblance of the originally. I found it somewhat sketch to see is the Paramount roll out a recent Terminator Genisys TV spot featuring The Ring endorsement for the director James cameraman who directed the first two Terminator movie, stating that this is the new adventure regards the franchise. Rehashes most certainly, but the revenge gods goes way too far. The beauty of 1984 The Terminator and 1991 blockbuster sequel Terminator Judgment Day is that at their career, they really are not time travel movie but merely use that device an elegant way to sell Sarah Connor's story and her interaction with two separate versions of T-800 Terminator, even the less popular Terminator 3. side of the machines did not really delve into the machines of time travel that much too. Perhaps Robert Downey Jerry kicked lasers from 2008 topic thunders Terminator Genisys goes full time travel and at times full rate it as well frequently. Invert result in a convoluted mess of a movie that will mostly like make you if you had your own time machine to get those 125 previous machine of your like back. We start off in the features, where the war between man and the machines continue to regard, where the humans led by John Connor, Jason Clarke, are on the brink of a victory that could enter the war for good. Just moment after securing this victory, they learned that Skynet has sent a Terminator back to 1894 to kill Jensen's mother Sarah Connor. So John will never exist and yada yada. We start off in the features where the war between man and machines continue to regard, where the humans led by John Connor, Jason Clarke, are on the brink of a victory that could even the war for good. Just moment after securing this victory, they learned that Skynet has sent a Terminator back to 1984 to kill Jason's mother, Sarah Connor, Emilia Clarke, so John will never exist and yada yada. Of course, John faithful soldier Clarke Reese volunteers to go back and save her. Since he been in love with her since, John gave him that photo which was taken at the end of the Terminator. But just moment before they get sent back in time, a masterpiece characters named Alex Matt Samis Garbage John as we see mysterious microorganism inflating John for a few seconds. As we see mysterious microorganism inflating John for a few seconds before Kelly is gone. If you have seen the most recent TV spots and the retailers with the surprisingly divert the movie Big Twist, you know that happens. But I won't get into many details because they are not very interesting anyway. From here, the 1984 Kelly goes back to is not what the throughout it would be, with Sarah saving John from a nefarious elevate metal T-1000 Byung Hon Lee, stealing one of the Android classing lines telling Kelly that she knows everything that is about to happen after being raised by her pops, and angry Terminator that saved her life when she was just a. From here, the 1894 Kelly goes back to is not what the throughout it would be, with Sarah saving John from a nefarious liquid metal T-1000, stealing one of Android classic lines and telling Kelly that she know everything that is about to happen after being raised by her pops, and engineering Terminator that saved her life when she was a just little girl after other Terminator were sent by Skynet to kill her parents. Anyway, this is basically a new timeline, and it's here where we get some semblance of the interesting and the original material, as Sarah and the Kelly must travel forward in time to the year 2017 to stop a new software program, Debit Genesis, which sends all of a user's data into handy dandy app, and of course is also the latest and Deb Genesis which sends all of our user data into one handy dandy app, and of course it's also the latest and the greatest version of the Skynet. This story written by the Patrick Lucia and the Lydia Colligerts does a nice job of bringing the Lydia Colligerts does a nice job for the writing and the Frenchies into this day and the age, with no so stable lines about how or the current society basically brought on the outslide of the Skynet, with our overwhelming need to say concept. Kyle Reese is given much more meat there, showing us some of history with the John before he is sent back in the time, and giving his connection to Sarah much more weight. Still, their script is the little with the recycling and the ridiculous dialogues, while trying its hardest to overcomplicate the story by crossing into the multiple connected calories is the given much more matted here, showing us some of his story with the John before has sent back in time, and giving his connection to Sarah much more rigid. Still, their script is the little with the recycle and the ridiculous dialogues, while trying its the hardest to overcomplicate the story by crossing into multiple different times. Terminator Genisys keep peeling on the already trick nature of time travel, where at times I started falling into logic wormholes in my own head, trying to examine if a certain aspect of the story should work after and the B and C already happened and such. The main actors Arnold, Emilia Clarke, Jack Country and the Joseph Clarke all does us. The main actors are not Emilia Clarke, Jay Country and the Jason Clarke all do as. The main actors Arnold, Amy Clarke, Jay Country and Jason Clarke all do as middling a job as possible with the material given, but the talent of the Maid Summit are the simply wasted here. The base band, new characters added here the J.K. Simmons, O'Brien a crazy cop in the year 2017. Who is the theory? Bo's theory about time travel are given a big boost when Kelly, Sarah and Pops arrive, but I wish we saw more of him. Director Alian Taylor does a fine job. Director Alian Taylor does a fine job at him with some of the massive action set pieces, but the content, weirdness of the story honestly distillate from a lot to this movie has to offer, at least for me. Terminator Genisys is the roast kind of the robot you can imagine, because it wants to have its cake and eat it too. Terminator is the Genesis is the word kind of the robot you can imagine because it wants to have its cake and eat to eat, starting a new story of the using either familiar or downright identical building block of themes, characters line of the dialogues to build it with. You could say that the other blockbuster Genesis word is the guilty of the same things, which it kind of is, but the difference is that movie does a much better job of the certain a new word with new characters in today's society, based on the icon foundation of the original while allergy avoiding the less successful sequel. Terminator Genisys, on the other hand, simply builds on everything that made the original movie a success on top of another, with a few new elements to complicate things further, resulting in a movie that recreates movie than it builds on everything that made the original movie a success on top of the another, with a few new elements to complicate things further resulting in a movie that recreates more than it creates, causing it to crumble under its the own weight of the unoriginal. Terminator Genisys hits theaters native words on 1 July. If you agree or disagree with my review, let your voice be heard below or on Twitter. Will you be heading to your local theater to check our Terminator Genisys this weekend? I expected Terminator Genisys to be watched, so when I finally watched it, unfortunately I found out way too late that there is a mind credit scene, so I should not have left the theaters as soon as it finished. Oh well, I do wish that I had rewatched Terminator Genisys predecessor so I could compare whether some scenes were perfect reaction. Some scenes were perfect reactions. I purposely did not rewatch them because I did not want to be disappointed and constantly compare Terminator Genisys with Terminator and the Terminator. Judgment Day, I suppose that Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines and the Terminator televisions can be forgotten forever. Cons. Jai Country does nothing for me and he plays Kyle Reese. At least he was not playing the same role like he did in the Davy Grant and Jack Creatures. But he is no Michael Biehn. I feel like he is getting all the work that the Michael Rosebum should rightfully be getting because he is a younger and the buffer. But Rosebum is a better actor and has coaching drama with a similar face. Life is not fair. I did not buy the love story Terminator Genisys. Plot is clearly setting the stage for future sequel and it seems downright tacky and the optimism in the compared to its more occasions. Rewatched Terminator Genisys, producer, so I could compare whether some scenes were perfect reactions. I purposely did not rewatch them because I did not want to disappoint it and constantly comparing Terminator Genisys with Terminator and the Terminator. Judgment Day. I suppose that Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines and the Terminator Celebrations can be forgotten forever. Cons. Jai Country does nothing for me and he plays Kyle Reese. At least he won't playing this same role like he did not in the Debbie Grant and Jake Richards. But he is no Michael Biehn. I feel like he is getting all the work that Michael Rochman should rather be getting because he is the younger and the buffer. But Rosebam is a better actor and has scoring charma with a similar face. Life is not fair. I did not buy the love story. Terminator Genisys plot is clearly setting the stage for the further sequel and the seems downright paggy and the optimism in compared to its more apologized producers. Terminator Genisys lacked the emotional resonance and content impending sequence of characters action at its the producers. Terminator Genisys also did not fully develop the decent plot point with the camera everywhere. Would Genesis also did not fully develop the decent plot point with the camera everywhere? Would they not find out that the genesis behind their work also emerged? Would they not figure out that genesis behind their work also emerged from the fireballs unarmed? I would have loved a brief cameo from the Robert Patrick. I am a feminist, but the fool I did not need to be the rescue or want help when she kind of does felt a bit heavy-handed. The prior Terminator movie and the excellent TV series Terminator the Sarah Connor Corneas felt inherently feminine where this one felt like it was the feminine by numbers. I miss Sarah begging instantly. Pros Terminator Genesis gave me Terminator fighting Terminators. Dope. I got a nod, worse plot twist, which I probably would have seen coming if I saw a commercial or the look at the poster at since the minutes that I saw the face of Skynet before he was released as the face of Skynet. I said to myself, he is a bad guy. I would have loved more buying holy, but I will sign a waiver. I love J.K. Simmons. I actually like the plot twist regarding the next step after T-1000 Terminator Genisys was evoking vampires. Revealed as the face of Skynet, I said to myself he is a bad guy. I would have loved more Bang Ho. I would have loved more buying holy, but I will sign a waiver. I love J.K. Simmons. I actually like the plot twist regarding the next step after T-1000 Terminator Genisys was evoking vampires and zombie and enemy with a face that we love. And I appreciated that the textured adventure through it does give me pause. The future dialogues of the human man characters will be eye-roll worthy. As he gets older, I love Arnold as longer as he stays out of the politics. And now that he has the abandoned his the ambition to be the next jealous. He is the emotion the hell out of his dialogues playing a machines better than he did as a human in the earlier roller. When he said, "Take care of my Sarah," I actually tear up, but my name is Sarah, so for no. It was such a cheesy plot line, but they made it work. Emilia Clarke did and the adaptation job. I neither hated nor loved her performance as Sarah Connor. The mother of the Dranks did not quite make it her own like Casey's Liner Ahon Lanny Haddy did, but Clarke evocative enough for younger Landa Hamilton to get up singeing grad. Lannister Ahem, Lena Haddy did, but Clarke evocative enough of younger Linda Hamilton to get a passing grade. When Schwarzenegger dies and there are no more Terminator movie, I will rewatch the quite make it her own look like Keris. Lannister Aham, Lena Haddy did get Clarke evocative enough of a younger Linda Hamilton to get a passing grade. When Schwarzenegger dies and there are no more Terminator movie, I will rewatch the interior franchise, but until then, if I don't examine it too closely, Terminator Genisys will do as a fun summer blockbuster movie that has live evocations, emotional resonance as a dawn of the plan of the apps regarding the implementation of the human action with all of the bright pearl fun. Review Terminator Genisys is an install to all time, traveling report everywhere. If Jersey's World provide 2015 most touching intimate of the franchise filmmaking, then Terminator Genisys does the same for record. Happy reports. The problem is that I am fairly certain the effect was international in the Jersey World cause. Genesis seems to have unwittingly positive itself as the exhibit. A in the case, A in the case against diverting alternate timeline reports. It did not have to be like this. The film directed by James of the Thrones and the Thor, the Dark Work album Alan Taylor, tries to wangle its way into the James Cameron canon by the painting the two films that were released after he paired ways with the franchise. Terminator elevations and reach of the machines do not exist. They capture the heart of I did not I did not have to be like this. The film directed by James of the Thorns and the Thor Dark World, Alom Alian Taylor, tries to wangle its way into the James Cameron canon by painting the two films that were released after he parted ways with the franchise. Terminator's elevations and the rise of the machines don't exist. This captured the heart of the cameraman himself and this seemed like a posing place to begin. Having seen it, however, I am not merely surprised that Cameron intently absorbed the film, as were plenty of the others, to the point that the producer David Elson had to publicity state that no money bad change hands. I am amazed. Having seen it, however, I am not merely surprised that Cameron authentically adorned the film, as were plenty of the other to the point that producer David Elson had to publicly state that no money had the change hands. I am amazed. I am amazed he did not press through as well at the Paramount and tear the print to shredder with his own bare hands. Terminator Genisys is a big pill of Huey. Come with me if you want to see. It's 2029 and John Connor, Jason Clarke, is piloting the human resistance against Skynet. He is tied everywhere by white eyes, idly scaly rice. Jay Country, who likes to pull Connor aside into their recorders to talk about the good old days that he, being born after Judgment Day, never got to experience. Weapons a time travel device. The first goes well, but the second not much. Then it becomes clear that Skynet has sent a T-800 braid as a doubling care of CGI makeup for young Aaron back in time. To Corner plan is to program and isolate on the Skynet defense grid, as well as a mission to destroy their manned weapons, a time travel device. The first goes well, but the second not so much when it becomes clear the Skynet has sent T-800 Brad Ezra doubling care of the CGI makeup for young Aaron back in time to kill Sarah Connor. Emilia Clarke Reese volunteers to go back to 1984 and stop it. He is not alone. T-1000 Lee Bong-hoo has also turned up to cast machines has also turned up to cause mischief. Their madly exciting cat and the mouse chases through a down-out LA clothing store, during which Reeves managed to plucking items of the clothing from the shelves and they leave him looking exactly like this Terminator in Correction as played by the Michael Bean in 1984. Grey sheet Dimey, trousers, Nike pelzers and that shitty ass grey overcoat. It's not the last conceptions with the Genesis. Wing Genesis will shoot at the original film. Soon enough, Sarah Connor drives and the ambulance through the front window and the below. Come with me if you want to live at Reese, who is alarmed too. So enough, the Sarah Connor drives and the ambulance through the front window and the below. Come with me if you want to live at Reese, who is alarmed to the find and the again. Arnold lied riding along with the Sarah. Turns out that another Terminator, reprogrammed as a guardian, was sent back to 1973 to the protect was sent back to 1973 to protect Sarah from the other Terminator. They fight out based on the snippets of the false memories that Reese experienced right before time traveling, that the timeline has been altered. So instead of the traveling forward to 1997 to knock Skynet, they will need to instead hop to 2017 because there are new operating system in town and Genisys is Skynet. Guess who waiting for them in 2017? Why, it's John Connor. From there everything gets complicated in a way that is the both simple enough for the average time travel movie fan to grasp but conclusive enough that Reese at one point witness. Makes my head hurt, you and me both, buddy. It's in your nature to destroy yourself. It would be tempting to ask, how can you get a Terminator film so wrong? If you did not already have two other outstanding example it that Terminator the answer, by not involving James Cameron, is by no patently obvious. But the way in which Genesis cut the Terminator universe wrong are so uniquely stepped that they almost bigger belief. Chief among its falling is that in sending the Guardian Terminator back to protect Sarah Connor, Genesis reimaged Sarah as effectively a young woman under the of an authentic father figure. Pope as she calls him, it's not quite Ariel battling with her pastor father is footlooks, but it close. When Clarke occasionally get to break free, she great but it does not happen often. And no matter how many times the middle script has Sarah back things like I did not need saving, she seems to spend a lot of time, being saved by either Race or the Guardian. And no matter how many times the middle script has Sarah back things like I did not need saving, she seems to spend a lot of time, being saved by either races or the guardians or a combination of all the above. This is not to say that the role needs to be a strong female character, since Sarah Connor appeal in The Handle of the Linda Hamilton was always her blend of the vulnerability and the battle-worn tongues. But Genesis gets the recipe wrong. As for the scene in which Connor is the understanding and her neck from is the sheltered in doggy CGI against the wall in a manner that suggests Jesse Rabbit was the amplifier as the P.T. Clarke shadow double, the less said the better. The Charisma Challenge country is the mostly on hand to provide irritating explanations or ask questions that the filmmaker must think the audience is the stupid enough to be the asking in their heads of all the recent antipodern acting success story. Of all the recent antipodern acting success stories, his is the most perplexing. He brings little to the film other than an impressive bicycle and they spend most of the time looking as the confused as Steve Gettingberg in the Can't Stop the Music, as the alternately heroic and the censor John Connor. Jason Clarke fare a little better combination to the material with the casty, his fiery ordinary dubs looks a nice counterpoint to the jack-up, wonking mountains around him. Ryan's surprisingly subtitled performance with the 1000 repeatedly reference to being as the alternately heroic and the sensator John Connor. Jason Clarke fare a little better committing to the material with the ghost. His very ordinary dude looks a nice counterpoint to the jacks up walking mountains around him. Ryan's surprisingly subtitled performance with the 1000 repeatedly reference to being old not obsolete has an effectively point quality and J.K. Simmons managed to deliver the line, got many time travel reports without committing hard cake out of the investment, so goes to him. Genisys does itself in most energizes in trying to one up Danny's Mern and the ILMS, still studying liquid metal effects. It's now landed T3000 technology school in the theory inside of the pulley allow the being bristles with the millions of the metallic petals. Genesis itself involves energies in the trying to one up Dennis Maron and the ILMS, still excluding liquid metal effects. Its newfangled T3000 technology school in the theory inside of Blow allowed the being Bristol with a million of the metallic protective, but in reality it looked like someone took Robic William, Rogue DG metal suit and the roll it iron in the fighting. I need a vacation. In the end, Terminator Genisys does not really have a point, both literally in terms of the end of the ideas, climate that lead to its reactions, and the fake gravity in items of its themes or Clarke theory, where Terminator and T2 were in fact very Volian anti-war movie. Genesis can't seems to work out if it treasure against screen cultures or the consuming. In the end, Terminator Genisys does not really have a point, both literally in terms of the end of the ideas, climate that lead to its creations, and figuratively in terms of its themes or lack theory. Where Terminator and T2 were in fact very valiant anti-war movie, Genesis can't seems to work out of its treason against screen culture or consuming or dads or good know what. It also goes without saying that the lore and the core like most modern action filmmakers save courier, mic like cameraman progressive, gender realistic with its the shorter romance and the pop storytelling. Genesis might have been more actually titled 8 sample role for the dating mighty revelation daughter. At least they are good. Roast of all and most, inexplicably considering it's a film about God and time traveling robots, it's boring. As we filed out the pre-screening surrounded by the hundred of the disc-care cartoon of the Terminator Genisys branded flavor mic, it's suddenly down on the me. Maybe Cameron Andrew Cement of the film is a long game. Maybe he is aiming up the chance of another equally disabled Terminator film or two being made before the North America right to the franchise river to him in 2019, and he can swap in hand save the day. Or he can get in a time machine and go back to make sure that Terminator Genisys never happened. Sometime I like to revisit a film I have already watched for whatever reason, and the Terminator film are the prime example. Terminator Genisys is an expedition to that role though. I hear a review of the film I wrote after watching it and feeling all sense of hope drain from my body. This is one of the lines that the Arnold drives to us within the first half an hour of the film. Iconical through this film feels like the franchise on its last stage. Whilst I adore Arnold, the Terminator films are some of my favorite out there. Let's get one thing clear. This is the road film in the Terminator franchise. The storyline is similar to that of the second movie, which is arguably one of the greatest sci-fi film in history, in that the Aryan received his role as a good Terminator this time, protecting Sarah Connor, Emilia Clarke as a young girl. The storyline is similar to that of the second movie, which is arguably one of the greatest science-fi film in history, in that the Aryan received his role as a good Terminator, this time protecting Sarah Connor as a young girl while the grows up. The film even throw another one of the liquid metal Terminator first introduced in T2, though his role seems redundant in this film, with his screen time and their two out heroes being minimal. The other similarity to the previous film is the end goal of having to destroy the establishment responsibility for the Judgment Day. In the second film, it was the cyber dance system main hub, where now it's the genesis operating hub. Aside from the unoriginal and the pale copy of the second film plot, comes the equal sky cast of the characters to give him character. Aaron does his role justice, portraying the good Terminator as the convincingly as he did in T2. Emilia Clarke is also noteworthy as Sarah Connor. Having grown up with her pops, she is already fairly streetwise and can handle herself admirably, taking down a Terminator with a single shot early on in the film. The strong relationship between the two is clear and they feel genuine, even if Ryan is a machine. Aside from those two though, the cast is a mighty Robbie, Joy Country Lakes and real emotion as the Kyle Reese. He either charismatic or no engaging. His affection towards Sarah Connor don't seem genuine in the slightest. Jason Clarke goes some way to help John Connor feel like there's some depth to him, yet the again just feel flat in the performance. Then there Vol Kuiper subplot, which I won't spoil but just further. Aside from those two though, the cast is a mighty Robbie, Jack and relax, and really emotion as Kyle Reese. He is neither charismatic nor engaging. His affections towards Sarah cannot, don't seem genuine in the slides. Jason Clarke goes some way to help John Connor feel like there's some depth to him, yet again just feel flat in his performance. Then there whole Cyber Cup subplot which I won't spoil, but just further convince the plot and the receptions John Connor is meant to have. Finally, Matt Smith, whom I was hoping would have a very significant role in the film, gets maybe 2 minutes screen time. J.K. Simmons plays his role well, but his character is not fleshed out enough, not given enough time with the audience to fully qualify he is in the film. For a franchise I love so much, slating Terminator Genisys pained me, but the plot goes no way in helping to save the film either. I sat confused as to whether this is a Robert and the alternate timeline, or finally Matt Smith, who I was hoping would have a very significant role in the film, gets maybe 2 minutes screen time. J.K. Simmons plays his role well, but his character is not fleshed out enough, not given enough time with the audience to full qualify why he is in the film. For a franchise I love so much, slating Terminator Genisys pains me, but the plot goes no way in helping to save the film either. I sat confused as to whether this is a Robert and the alternate timeline or a follow-up to the previous film. At the time it felt like all three. For example, I was left questioning why the events of T30, why the events of T3, set survival years before had seemingly been completely forgotten. Who was this mysterious guardian angel in the further sending a Terminator back to help Sarah Connor as she grew up? Why did the machine don't just send back a bloody army to wipe out Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese when they were children? There were just so many questions I had coming out of the film. A follow-up to the previous film, at times it felt like all there. For example, I was left questioning why the events of T3, set survival years before, had seemingly been completely forgotten. Who was this mysterious guardian angel in the future sending a Terminator back to help Sarah Connor as she grew up? Why did the machines not just send back a bloody army to wipe out Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese when they were children? There were just so many questions I had coming out of the film. Aran tries to explain how alternate timelines can work in the film, and this just made things even more confusing. Visually, there are some great action sequences. The Golden Great Bride is the dimensional as Care explode, flying through the air like pieces of the paper, and the final act of the film seems some stunning visuals in the climax fight between several main characters. However, just because something looks good does not necessarily mean the film is. Visually, there are some great action sequences. The Golden Great Bride is three-dimensional, as Care explored, flying through the air like pieces of paper, and the final act of the film seems some stunning visual in the climactic fight between survivor main characters. However, just because something looks good does not necessarily mean the film is good. Classic sound for the original also play throughout the film, and it's a nice bite of fan survive. At least, there are moments of the depiction for the movie. I am not even going to go on the explain how Aran tries to explain he looks older because he tries ex-stolen over his extolling ages. Nor am I going to give you hope that the fight between young and the old Aryan at the start of the film is breathtaking because it's not. There are just far too many plot holes and the question raised by this film. And save for two actors, the casting is fairly dissembled. And at this point in time, I am genuinely useless as to how the franchise could move forward. Even though to many it's a low for the franchise, I am still a big fan of the Terminator's televisions and enjoy seeing how humans compound after the machines rose up. Tuning to that area would have been better than this. As much as it pains me to say, this is no Terminator fitness horde. Sure, there is a little enjoyment to be had from the film, and the die-hard fans of the franchise should still give this a go. For everyone else, though, maybe just wait for the DVD release. It's said to see the franchise machine rose up, returning to that area would have been better than this. As much as it pains me to say, this is not Terminator fitness or sure there is a little enjoyment to be had from the film, and die-hard fans of the franchise should still give this a go. For everyone else, though, maybe just wait for the DVD release. It's sad to see the franchise become what it has, and here hoping the inevitable follow-up film does things more justice. Final consents for the Terminator Genisys. This is a less I will back, and instead let's pray Orion is walking up to the producer with a big double barrel ready to deliver the word. You're terminated for what this film could have done. Everything just felt completely average. What is for the die-hard fans, not really otherwise. Remember what he says the partner told him of the word before Judgment Day. He never got to witness, but he heard it was beautiful. On 29 August 1997, Skynet took over and the unleashes Judgment Day upon the world. Massive explosives are seen hitting San Francisco, killing millions of people and destroying the city. As a child, Callie is running through the sewer to avoid the Terminators. One of them corners him in the darkness until it is shot down by the residence leader John Connor. He takes Callie with him, and Callie grows up fighting alongside John as they try to stop Skynet once and for all. In 2029, John and Kelly fight with their until to inflict that the last Skynet base to take their sacred weapon, the timeline machine that sent the Terminator to the past to the kill John Mother Sarah Connor. All thought Kelly is not immediately convinced the mission will work. John presumes him to continue fighting alongside him. He then gives Kelly a picture of Sarah. John gives a rousing speech to the other residents fight before Kelly inflates the Skynet base using a John gives a rousing speech to the other residents fighter before Kelly inflates the Skynet base using a dead Terminator to enter. The other Terminators scan it and see it not functional. To say that star shooting at the Kelly stack, he donates several explanations, killing these Terminator and their line. The other fighters to attack. Skynet flying machines attack, shooting down some fighters in the battle. Suddenly, all the machines go offline and fall. The fighter thinks they have won. They go down to the storage facility to find the time machines. John tells the fighter what happens with the Terminators and his mother, and he asks for a volunteer to go back and stop them. Because if Sarah dies, then he is never born, and all their victories will be undone. The original T-800 is already sent back to 1984 Los Angeles to carry out the task. Many offer to go back in the time, but Kelly ultimately steps forward and decides to go since he knows as much about Sarah as John, based on what he was told her. John agrees and Kelly steps in the machines. As he is being sent to in the time, Kelly sees one resistance fighter, Alex with his arm glowing as he gasps. Alex with his arm glowing as he gasps John. He whispers, "You did not think it was going to be that easy, did you?" To join, Kelly calls out to John as he is sent back. In the time jump, Kelly sees flashback of the childhood he never lived before Judgment Day. He sees himself on his 13th birthday receiving a table for the Genisys. And in time jump, Kelly says, flashback of a childhood he never lived before Judgment Day. He sees himself on 13th birthday receiving a table for the Genisys, an operating system that is set to go online soon in this timeline. The young Kelly looks in the mirror and he repeats, Genisys is Skynet and that it's ready to activate in 2017. He also sees himself with the Sarah who tracks her figure in the palm of his hand saying, a start line, you keep moving forward and never look back. The T-800 approach the terror of the punks to take their claws before anything else can happen. An aged T-100 which Sarah has naked pops arrive and the shoots at the original T-800. The two Terminator fight and they proud each other's skin off. From a distance, Sarah uses a sniper rifle to shoot the original though the chest killing it. Kelly arrives in 1984 nude. He takes the plants of a homeless man as a cop, pulls up by the alive where Kelly landed and he chases after him. Kelly quickly learned that this man is also Terminator. The ship-shifting T-1000 Kelly runs into a clothing store and grabs a shirt. The T-100 kills the older cop while Kelly and the younger cop hide. When it looks like the T-1000 has then considered a truck blow into the store and the smug, the T-1000 Sarah opens the door and yells to Kelly, "Comes with me if you want to leave." Kelly does so hope and is the truck with her. Sarah apparently already knows who Kelly is and what he was sent back in time to do. She tells him they already killed the Terminator sent back to kill her, and she knows about Skynet, Judgment Day and her own son. Kelly is surprised to see Sarah Terminator Pops is working with her. In a panic, Kelly tries to shoot him, but Pops knocks Kelly out. While he unconscious, Pops and Sarah discuss how she already knows that she is supposed to fall in love with Kelly and conceive John, but she did not want to hear about it. Meanwhile, the T-1000 follow them using a piece of his liquid metal to track them. The T-1000 catches up with them and they attacks. Kelly comes to and shoots at the T-1000 police crystal, causing it to blow up. The terror lead the T-1000 into the sphere, using its liquid metal. He receptive he dead. T-800, which attacks Kelly. Kelly managed to know its head of the destroying it for good. Sarah finds himself in a floor benefit multiple waste of the acid. Kelly runs to her saying he hurt until another Kelly runs by. Knowing of the dam is the T-1000, Sarah tries to fight her. Art with the imposed. She shoots at the T-1000 foot. Sarah tells the really Kelly to run as she shoots the acid waves to hit the T-1000. He nearly catches up to Sarah until Pop's garbage him and holds him to benefit the acid until he is completely disinjured. Sarah tells Kelly how Pops was sent to her in 1973 and he voted that nobody would hurt her. She and Pops bring Kelly to a place where they have their own time machine. Sarah wants to jump. Sarah tells Kelly how Pops was sent to her in 1973 when she was a child and he vowed at that nobody would hurt her. She and Pops bring Kelly to a place where they have their own time machine. Sarah wants to jump back to 1997 to prevent Judgment Day, but Kelly remembers the flashback he saw and is convinced that they need to jump to 2007, when Genisys is set to give life, Sarah is unconvinced until Kelly tells her what he saw. Popes know what he talking about and say he won't throw a news point that the credit and the alternate timeline which happened the moment Kelly reached out for the John when he saw him being attacked in 2029. Sarah finally agreed to go back. Sarah finally agreed to go back to 2017. She and the Kelly undress for the machine as they talk about Kelly time with the John. Pope stay behind the scene. His arm was damaged by the acid and he needs time for the tissue to repair. So he will spend the next 33 years waiting for the Sarah and the Kelly to return. The two arrive in 2017 in the middle of a highway. They are nearly hit by a car until Kelly carpes Sarah and gets slammed against the front of the car. They are apparently by defecting courage and the ultimates. Pope's now more aged with grey hair sees them. Sarah and Kelly are not taking the hospital. There they are met by a man named O'Brien, who happened to be the cop that survived the T-1000 attack back in 1984. He knows there is something unusual about Sarah and the Kelly. Sarah noticed one of the doctor while a Genisys countdown on his phone and asked about. Sarah and Kelly are taken to the hospital. They are met by a man named O'Brien, who happens to be the cop that survived the T-1000 attack back in 1984. He knows there's sometimes usual about Sarah and Kelly. Sarah noticed one of the doctors while a Genisys countdown on his phone and they ask about it. She and Kelly learns that Genisys is an operating system set to link up with every electronic device in the world, meaning it's basically Skynet in the making. Mistia also mentioned to them that after running their parents, it looked like Sarah is the only one that it's offered great, but Kelly prints match the Kyle Reese in this timeline, who is 12 years old. The authorities leave when Homeland Security arrives. Mother later, Sarah and the Kelly are met by John. He has them kept two offers when they enter the room. He convinced Sarah that he is her son. When he mentioned that she would sign him Rocketman as a child, but the jokes that her sliding is awful. They agree go to the parking garage where John calls Kelly dad, leading John and the Sarah to admit what Kelly never knew, that he is to be John Connor father. Kelly is confused and upset until they are met by Pops holding a giant teddy bear. He concealing a gun which he using a shoot to John. Kelly then thinks that the Pops really is a murderous Terminator until the blood around John turns into the Michael Pretext. John explained that when he was attacked in 2029, he was turned into a Terminator, the T-3000 by Alex. He convinced John that the reason why they could not prevent Judgment Day was because of him and he is better off as an assist too. The three go to the parking area where John calls Kelly dad, leading John and Sarah to admit what Kelly never knew, but he is to be John Connor father. Kelly is confused and upset until they met by Pops holding a giant teddy bear, which he used to show John. Kelly then thinks that the Pops really is a murderous Terminator until the blood around John turned into the machine particles. John explained that when he was attacked in 2029, he was turned into a Terminator, the T-3000 by Alex. He convinced John that the reason they could not prevent. The three go to the parking garage where the John calls Kelly dad, leading John and the Sarah to the admit what Kelly never knew, that he is to be the John Connor father. Kelly is confused and upset until they are met by Pops holding a giant teddy bear. He concealing a gun, which he used to shoot John. Kelly then thinks that Pops really is a murderous Terminator until the blood around John turns into machine particles. John explained that when he was attacked in 2029, he was turned into a Terminator, the T-3000 by Alex. He convinced John that the reason they could not prevent Judgment Day was because of him and he is better off as an assist to Skynet. then he is as their enemy. He tries to convince his presents to join him, but they refuse. John attacks and Pops fight him. They crash into the hospital and they tremble near a MRI machine. The magnetic pulls hold John back long enough for the three to escape. We see a brief interview with Danny Dawson, son of the Miles. Danny is the president of the Cyberdyne and the creator of the Genisys, and he hopes for the program to be a success. Pops takes Sarah and the Kelly to safe house, where they prepare their weapons to fight back. Kelly is still upset over learning he is John's father, having been lied to be by both Em and the Sarah. She also tells Kelly that he is fated to die if everything goes out the way it should. Eventually, they resolve to destroy the Genisys mainframe for the good. John is apparently working alongside the Dyson as they prepare to launch Genisys. Janice speaks before a Pope takes Sarah and the Kelly to safe house near the Golden Gate Bridge, where they repair their weapons to fight back. Kelly is still upset over learning he is John's father, having been lied to by both him and Sarah. She also tells Kelly that he is fated to die if everything goes out the way it should. Eventually, they resolve the Genisys mainframe for good. John is apparently working alongside the Dyson as they prepare to launch Genisys. Danny speaks before a large crowd and show off a childlike avatar in the role of the Genisys, saying it is greater to meet the consumer. Danny says that they have reached a billion pro-order. Meanwhile, John vows to not let anyone harm Genisys. Sarah, Kelly, and Pops get ready to fight back when John finds their Hedimite. Sarah shoots down with an explosion, giving the three a chance to run outside. John re-emergency and he chases after them on a motorcycle as they ride over the Golden Gate Bridge. John latches onto the bus and he pulls the brake out, causing the Sarah to lose control. Kelly and Pops try to hold John off until he catches the bus to flip over and they slide over the edges of the bridge. Pops pulls Sarah and Kelly out while John falls into the water while bus. The authorities arrive and the three surrenders knives. Pops does not have a good chance of the taking out of the and the three surrenders knives. Pop does not have a good chance of taking out of the corpse. They are taken into the custody. During their interrogations, O'Brien brings in the 12 years old Kelly with his the presents. Neither of them recognize the adult Kelly, but young Kelly says the adult looked like his father. The three are taken into the custody. During their interrogations, O'Brien brings in the 12 years old Kelly with his presents. Neither of them recognize the adult Kelly, but young Kelly says the adult looked like the father. They leave Bob notice through the two-way mirror that something is up with one of the detectives. Cage appears to shoot the other detective and the Pops break through out the mirror. Knowing she is the John in the disguise, O'Brien helps Sarah and the Kelly escape. Sarah then finds 20-year-old Kelly still with his presents. She tracks his hand with her finger and tells him to keep going and never look back. O'Brien guides Sarah and Kelly to the roof with the Pops where they take a chopper of the grinder. John takes a chopper of his own and they follow. In the air, Sarah shoots at the John, but he keeps going. They get high above John's chopper, giving Pop an idea. He looks at Sarah and he says he will be back before diving, bumping into John's chopper and causing it to crash. Everyone make it to Cyberdyne. With John having made it first, he kills the guards and jumps the Genisys countdown from the 30 hours to 50 minutes. Sarah, Kelly and Pop's plant explosive around the facility. As they had to find John, Sarah and Kelly encountered the Genisys avatar and they shot out the protect artists that continue to haunt them. They along with the Pops fight against John as he tries to prevent them from doing any further damage to the facilities. Pops get the donator to set off, but it's too close to. Everyone make it the Cyberdyne with the John having made it first. He kills the guards and he jumps the and it jumps the Genisys countdown from the 30 horse to 50 minutes. Sarah, Kelly, and the Palms plant as they had to find John. Sarah and Kelly encounter the Genisys awaited and shout out the project as it's the countdown to taunt them. They, along with Pops, fight against John as he tries to prevent them for doing any further damage to the facilities. Pope gets the detonator to set off the explosive, but it's so close to Sarah as John has her in his grasp. Neither one can kill her since Pop is still protecting Sarah and John needs her from her to stay alive. Pop's fight John while Sarah and the Kelly encounter Genisys in a mature avatar from taking on the appearance of the Alex. He says he cured John and that they're not stopping Skynet for becoming a reality. Popes take the fight with the John to the room where and the unfinished time machine is located. John human tissue gets the blast off, revealing his complete T-3000 from. He continued to fight Pops. Dawn survived damage to him. Pops impales T-3000 with his arm and he brings him into the now active time machines. He traps both of them in the magnetic field and tells Kelly to protect Sarah. Kelly gets her out of there as the magnetic field gains more power. Pops gets pushed out of the time machine and falls into a pool of the mimetic play lol liquid while the T-3000 is destroyed in the magnetic field. The explosives go off and blow up most of the facilities as Sarah and Kelly get into a bunker before the explanation hits them. After a while, Pope takes the fight with the John to the room where an unfinished time machine is located. John's human tissue gets blasted off, revealing his complete T-3000 from. He continued to fight Pops, doing severe damage to him. Pomp impales the T-3000 with his arm and they bring him into the now active time machine. He traps both of them in the magnetic field and tells Kelly to protect Sarah. Kelly gets her out of there as the magnetic field gains more power. Pope gets pushed out of the time machine and falls into a pool of the mimetic fluor liquid while the T-3000 is destroyed in the magnetic field. The explosives go off and blow up most of the facilities and Sarah and Kelly get into a bunker before the explanation hits them. After a while, Pops come back having been upgraded in the liquid metal. 12-year Kelly for the adult Kelly to tell his younger self to keep repeating Genisys is Skynet. Now free from the theater of the Skynet, Sarah is happy to choose what happened in her future and she chooses Kelly, pulling him in for a kiss while Pops look on the awkwardly. The three drives off with Kelly saying that even though Skynet is gone, there are still questions left unanswered, but they will continue to move forward. Midway through the credits, we go through the runs of the Cyberdyne, where we see that Genisys core is still active. The holographic avatar show up and looks up at the core. Terminator Genisys review. Such a zinger and not immediately resell such a classic lines as I will be back or Hester to Lewis, baby. These two are from the Terminator and the Terminator 2, Judgment Day respectively. All thought there are lots of the other things going on in both films, included Buff Bats, Linda Hamilton. Schwarzenegger is the heart and the soul of the franchise, as either a good guy or bad guy. Some producers decide to reboot the franchise and they smartly include Schwarzenegger in a major role once again. With a major shift that the redefines the series Terminator Genisys deliver more of the same action that you would accept almost does not for not the effort with the way that its December timeline. It's almost made me question why the franchise came back. Director Elian Taylor worked on the Game of the Thrones before jumping to the big screen with the Thor: The Dark World. Terminator Genisys is an improvement over his last film, but only slight. Writers Lita Colliger's Right or the Shutter Island and the Patrick Lucer. Director Elian Taylor worked on the Game of the Thrones before jumping to the big screen with the Dark World. Terminator Genisys is an improvement over his last film, budget only slightly. We trust Lita, Caliogride, and the Patrick Lucia, many editing credits, and the writer-directors of the some horror flicks and the Drive Energy scrapped a lot of what happened before in the series. Instead, they stuck with the most basic events before twisting everything around to make a brand new chapter for the chapters for the characters that's supposed to continue into more sequel, given some of the impacts in this entry. I can't imagine two more of them. Hi, I am open to anything, so we'll just have to wait and see. The story mix old and few horror for a plot that they confuse as much. For a plot that they confuse as much as it jumps around in the time. Kyle Reese jumps back in time for a year in which the machines have taken over the world to Los Angeles in 1984. He needs to fulfill this destiny to both protect Scar Connor and get her pregnant with a child to be named John Connor. The story mixes old and new for a plot that confuses as much as it jumps around in time. Kyle Reese jumps back in time for a year in which the machines have taken over the world to Los Angeles in 1984. He needs to fulfill his destiny to both protect Sarah Connor, Emilia Clarke of the Game of the Thrones, and get her pregnant with a child to be named John Connor. Jason Clarke as an adult, who eventually becomes the leader of the human resistance against the machines. Something changed during the jump and Callie meets a much Together Sarah who has her own guardian, who she calls Popes to define her, included against the original T-800 robot sent to kill her in the Terminator. When they learn how a computer operating system called Genisys is about to come online in 2017, they have to jump in time to San Francisco to stop its debut because Genisys is connected to Skynet, the AI responsible for the adventure robots and the destruction of the human race. I was especially impressed with the Emilia Clarke and the Skivers. I do not watch. I was especially impressed with the Emilia Clarke. I don't watch Game of the Thrones, so this is my first time seeing her on screen. Uses some of his memorable lines and he tries to establish a few no ones limit success. Other leads, Jones Clark and the country are fine in their roles. J.K. Smalls appears in 2017 as a kind of the crackpot police detective and his subplot, the Goffs Nowhere, only serve as the comedic relief until his characters helps our leader on the mission. I hate to underlizations of a great actor just to add a name the credit. I hate to see underlization of a great actor just to add a name to the credit. Lee Beginghorn appears as the new face of T-1000 that sent back to alter events in 1984. He exacting to watch so it would have been noticed to have more of him in the movie. The cast does their job to making this time travel nonsense believable. Unfortunately, there are places where the movie comes up short. The title could have just as easily spelled Genesis correctly because that more the message than the name of an operating system. That's the minor things. The major problem are with plot and the characterizations. It's very directing to see Amy Clark as Sarah when she looks so young and nothing like Hamilton version of the character in the same year. A simple change would have made this more palatable because the Guardian has been with the Sarah since she was a child. Why not send Kelly back to an early time in her life and the resolve the whole pregnancy things another way? Even worse, and the surprise or twist that comes later in the movie is pretty dumb to me in what it means to the Francisco and the next two films. Just because you think of something does not mean that you should have to it, and this is not of this example. I don't think that I can take more movie of the same plot of trying to stop the machines in different ways. This is why the TV series Blacking Skies got stale for me. Good writers need to put a unique spin on things as with the difference between the first two movies. The surprise or twist that comes later in the movie is pretty dumb to me in what it means to franchise and the next two films. Just because you think of something does not mean that you should do it. And this is one of those examples. I don't think I can take more movie of the same plot of trying to stop the machines in different ways. This is why the TV series Flecking Skies go settle for me. God writers need to put a unique spin on things as with the difference between the first two movies. The special effects are important elements of this movie and the filmmaker did not skip on them here. The reboot tries include the 800 model with the metal and skeleton that peeks through the skin when damaged as well as the liquid metal T1000 and more advanced until they are fired with this report, but the more impressive scenes are the explanations, crashes and the other big stunts, a sequence on the golden of trying to stop the machines in different ways. This is why the TV series Flagging Skies got settled for me. God writers need to put a unique spin on things as with the difference between the first two movies. The special effects are an important element of this movie, and the filmmaker did not skip on them here. The reboot batteries included the T800 model with the metal skeleton that peeks through the discovery skin when the damage as well as the liquid metal T1000 and more advanced until they are fired with these robots, but more impressive scene are the explanations, crashes and the other big stunt. A sequence on the Golden Gatesburg may just be the best part of the movie. For the first time, moviegoers get to see actual time travel device used in series, and it's pretty neat to watch the jumps happen. This is a summer action film after all, and the filmmaker delivered the goods is every year of the plot. It's exciting to hear the iconic pulse and the thumping beat of the drums that define the series as Schwarzenegger. It's executing to hear the iconic pulse and the thumping beat of them that defines that series as much as. The most welcome part of the film is that they work Scoversi age into the plot. The Guardian's organic skin ages so in the screen. In 2017, the Guardians look like Scoversi really does with the carry hair. You have to forget what came before to really enjoy Terminator Genisys. I did rather not have to adjust my memory to watch a film. If the current filmmaker or another if the current filmmakers or another team identify what did quite work with the sequel and they adjust it, I can honestly say that we'll be back, otherwise they will have to hasta la vista to any box office success. In a word, their humans are the minority and our own technology has united against us in the mission to try the earth of the organic life for the good. It seems that only defense lie ahead. It seems that only defect lies ahead for this once powerful nation. It's just a few years after Skynet, a highly intelligent computer program interrogated into every phase of society, wiped out billions of lives in a single moment, nor do they survive as the Judgment Day, this devastating event marking the time when hope seemed all but lost of the further of the humanity. Then came John Connor, a powerful leader, characterized by the presence and the scene that suggest he been down in the trench. Connor is a revelation in a time of the passive resistance, a man who took it upon himself to really what was left of the humans to fight for the survival, urging his fellow men to defend themselves and the declaring the war far from the lost. Ushering because of hope, John leads the human resistance in the fight against and its army of the artificial intelligence killing machines. However, the more battles he wins against the machines, the more impressive their plans. Revelation in a time of the passive resistance, a man who took it upon himself a really what was left to the humans to fight for the survival, urging his fellow men to define themselves and declaring that for from lost, a shining beacon of hope, John leads them human resistance in the fight against Skynet and its army of the artificial intelligence killing machines. However, the movie battles he wins against the machines, the more impressive their plans become as Skynet develops a way to win these war before it's ever started by using their advanced technology to send the Terminator back to 1984 to kill John Connor's mother Sarah before she ever gives birth to John. They seek to end the timeline of the man who could possibly but a permanent half to Skynet plans. Luckily, John has a conservative plan of his own. He will send one of his own men back to stop the Terminator and save Sarah so that she may live on the give birth to humanity only hope. Kyle Reese, a man that John took under his wing when he was only a boy, seemed best suited for the job, not only for his congrats, but for his innate loyalty to John and the residents. Little does Kelly know, but in the end, his life will play a much. Luckily, John has a constructive plan of his own. He will send one of his own men back to stop the Terminator and save Sarah so that she may live on the give birth to humanity only hope. Kyle Reese, a man that John took under his wings when he was only a boy, seemed best suited for the job not only for his congratulations but for his innate loyalty to the John and the residents. Little does Kyle know, but in the end, his life will play a much bigger role than that. John tells Kelly that the when he returned to 1984, the Sarah Connor he meets will be nothing like the one that he has spent hours recycling. The store independent Sarah that the tough John how to fight back against the machines and how defiance is one greatest weapon in this phase of the perceptions. The Sarah Connor from 1984 is not privy to the part that lies ahead of her and will appear more like a damsel is distressed than the fries warrior that the John has spent so many nights scrambling. Kelly feels despair for his journey, but when he arrives in 1984, it seems that Skynet has bested him, once again propelling the timeline to stand up after they sent the Terminator to kill 9 years old Sarah Connor, shoving her into a harsh survivor divine, all thought long before the should have. Now the realities, Connor showing her into a harsh survivor driven adulthood long before she should have. Know the reality is its struggle. Terminator Genisys mixes the Terminator and the Terminator 2 Judgment Day together to create its new update timelines that ignores both the threads and the fourth installment in the series. Like this predecessor Terminator 2, the interior also pins Terminator against Terminator. How it's different itself by meaning to reminds relative bloodlines throughout the interior 126-minute runtime. There are some pretty there are some pretty ludicrous fight scenes that internally simply because they are so elaborate, but it soon becomes clear that most of this Terminator 1 Terminator action is for the benefit of the PG-30 rating, an incentive that did not hold back the R-rated source material from which the film so heavily brought. This rating became glaringly more obvious during the Genesis time travel sequence, of which there are many which features time travelers who are forced to share their clothes to ensure a safe passage only to be captured by awkward camera angles that the deceptively passage only to be captured by awkward camera angle that deliberately try to hide any nudity that would send the film sign quite over the edge into R-rated territory. It's danger to call a film that the features a helicopter surviving through the Chinese of the Golden Gate Bridge weighted down, but that how the addition to the Terminator franchise honestly come across. 2015 film that feels safe and that is the 30 years old originator. Another thing that seems off about the new Terminator is the message it sends about the Judgment Day. Deposit the fact that this concept was originally created from a place of the inevitability. Genesis seems to say that humans have remind themselves and that they are getting what they right deserve. James Cameron show with the concert conception how our need to progress often consider with the need to concept and how our push to make machines intelligence and to integrate them into our life would eventually backfire if we were not careful. Genesis shames its viewers for being too obsessed with their call phones. Although the message is oddly fitting, it also plays into the backfire if we were not careful. Genesis shames its viewer for being too obsessed with their call phones. Although the message is oddly flirting, it's a raw one. It's also play into the rest of the film, which feels good and the distant as the characters constantly talk about the fate of the feather, and not the gorgeous that the awaits, the presents billion of innocent catches in the wake of Skynet distribution, and it seems that only life that matters in this movie is John Connor deposits all performance from the Emilia Clarke and the Arnold. Their moments of the bonding are delimited and the reserve for building up to action sequence. Perhaps we have had more in coverage between the two or between the sky and the J country their characters will eliminate more sympathy, but the truth is feeling of the being helpless against a massive inductive force like the Skynet and knowing that you can't do anything to save the countless life around you is a state of mind that is simply absent from the latest entry in the series. Aside from its main separated albeit brief message blame humans for their own distributions and its failure to do anything new to the 3D side all franchise, the timeline just don't make sense and the ending uptoes all over the work that has been achieved throughout the film. But most importantly, Terminator Genisys lacked the heart and the humor of the original Terminator film, which iconically is what made them so human. Every moment of the dialogue is just a presenter of the action. The dread and the frustrations of knowing the feather and not being able to stop it. Us against the world mentally and the depiction to save mankind. This emotion that these steward the originally entires take a backseat to perfectly possess attractive actors. This is a story that they relieve so heavily on their parents that its villain remove his physically flaws as soon as he relieve himself. It's unfortunately that a movie about saying humanity goes through the blockbuster motion so much that it winds up feeling robot, but that this cast here. Terminator Genisys is one of the most action-packed bizarre film of the summer and yet nothing really happens. Review Terminator Genisys 2015, the fifth film in the Terminator series, overlapping with the events of the original film. Kyle Reese is sent back to 1984 to protect Sarah Connor. Upon arrival in the past, he discovers the circumstances have changed. What work Terminator Genisys is part of a trend of so-called soft report that they resume the story of the classic characters in countries with the early film within this trend. Terminator Genisys is more similar to 2009 Star Trek in that it is a time travel story that returns to familiar characters and events, recasts some of the major. Terminator Genisys is a part of a trend of so-called soft reboots that they resume the story of the classic characters in the continue with early film. Within this trend, Terminator Genisys is more similar to 2009 Star Trek is that it is a time travel story that returns to familiar characters and events, recast some of the major roles, and reset the story. The way in which Genisys incorporated itself into the exciting Terminator series is mostly clever. The filmmaker clearly went back to James' cameraman film and found way to until the exciting material, but they have not overstuffed the movie with home age. The best of the new addition to this film are the founding in its character work. Terminator Genisys reversed the relationship between Kyle Reese and the Sarah Connor as seen in the original film. I have a confession to make. I am not a major fan of the Terminator franchise. It has never been One of my favorite pop culture obsession. In fact, I have never seen the Terminator, the Sarah Connor, Christopher Tallis series aside from the 2 or 3 episodes, but I have seen most of the franchise movie, included the 2015 movie Terminator Genisys, directed by Elian Taylor. Thor the Dark World Terminator Genisys seems to be some kind of an attempt to reboot the franchise man narrative. In other words, many fanny boys believe the 1991 film Terminator 2 Judgment Day should have resolved the matter of whatever Sarah and the John I have convinced to make. I am not a major fan of the Terminator franchises. It has some been of my favorite pop culture obsessions. In fact, I have never seen the Terminator, the film Sarah Connor Christopher Sony series aside from 2 or 3 episodes, but I have seen most of the franchise. Movie included the 2015 movie Terminator Genisys, directed by Ella Taylor. Terminator Genisys seems to be some kind of an attempt to reboot the franchise man narrative. In other words, many fanboy believe the 1991 film Terminator 2 Judgment Day should have resolved the matter of whatever Sarah and the John Connor along with the Terminator T-800 Model 101 came back and had permanently prevalented Judgment Day, the date on which Skynet and the artificial intelligence channel system become self-aware and decide to terminate making. In other words, Judgment Day should have resolved the matter of whatever Sarah and the John Connor, along with the Terminator T-800 model 101. Cry back and the permanently prevented Judgment Day, the date on which Skynet and artificial intelligence journal system become self-aware and decide to exterminate making. In other words, there was no real needs for the country's Reign of the Francisco with the 2004 Terminator Rise of the Machines and 2009 Terminator Television. This is due to the virulent dislike of the two movies by many fans. But what these fans had failed to take on the side is that director James Cameraman had failed to resolve the matter and allowed the John Connor characters to exist in the 1991 movie Last Reel. Producer David Elson and the Dana Goldberg must have realizing this along with the screenwriters Lita Colligors and the Patrick Lucia, or else there would have never been a movie like Terminator Genisys. What this recent film did was the pretty much recent of the interior movie franchise. More of the last Terminator Genisys began with human resistance leader John Connor laughing a final obscene against Skynet in 2029. Before the resistance and with the battle, Skynet sends T-800 Terminator back 1984 to kill John's mother Sarah Connor. One of the Johns ahead, Kyle Reese, volunteered to arrive back in time to stop the Terminator and save Sarah. This sounds very familiar, does it not? Guess what? The plot is about to get tricky. While floating in the time machine's magnetic field, Kelly Sport and other resident soldiers attack John. He also has vision of his younger self back in 2017. Upon its arrival in 1984, the Skynet T-800 is disabled by Sarah and the Guardians. A reprogrammed T-800 sent back to protect her when she was 9 years old. Kelly eventually arrives and is immediately attacked by T-1000. Kelly along with the Sarah and the Guardian destroy the T-1000 as ink acid. Sarah and the Guardians also rally. They have the considered a makeshift. Upon its arrival in 1984, the Skynet T-800 is disabled by Sarah and the Guardians. A reprogrammed T-800 sent back to protect her when she was 9 years old. Kelly eventually arrives and is ultimately attacked by T-1000. Kelly along with Sarah and the Guardians destroy the T-1000 as ink acid. Sarah and the Guardians also reveal they have considered a makeshift time machines similar to one considered by Skynet. Sarah plans to travel forward 1997. Allegedly, the year Skynet becomes self-aware, realizing that time has been alternated. Kelly is convinced that the future has changed due to the warning he had receiving in this vision. He persuades Sarah to travel to 2017 with him in the order to escape, but in that year a surprise awaits in the but in that year, a surprise awaited the terror in the form of the John Connor who had been transformed in a Terminator by the physical embodiment of Skynet, the residents, soldiers who had attacked him during Kelly's journey to the past. I did Terminator Genisys honestly, I did, but I must be bravely frank. The movie producer should have dragged the screenwriter out of bed. I did like Terminator Genisys honestly, I did, but I must have be brutally frank. The movie producer show how dragged the screenwriter out of bed and they showed them for getting such a makeup screenplay. I have not seen this many plot holes in a movie since 2009. Star Trek, it was a mess. First of all, Collie Gertz and the Lucia Arangeli in God. Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines by originally starting that the Judgment Day happened in 1997. It was supposed to happen 2 years after the setting for second film, 1995. But Sarah John and the first Terminator Guardians prevent this from happening in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. The screenwriter forget this. They also forget or ignore that the Judgment Day Act LA happens in 2004. They also decide to ignore the fact that John was married to Cattle Breast by 2029. She was nowhere to be found, although Kyle Reese or Guy Nagel did travel from 2029. The residents did not laugh its final offense against Skynet until 2032, and as a slap in the face against in the fourth film, Terminator Salvations. The movie features Kelly Reese as a boy between the ages of 10 to ignore to the fact that John was married to Katy Breast by 2029. She was nowhere to be found. All thought Kelly Reese or Guinea Nelly did travel from 2029. The residents did not laugh its final offense against Skynet until 2032, and as a slap in the face against the fourth film, Terminator Salvation, the movie features Kelly Reese as a boy between ages of 10 to 30 or 40. In the 2009 film, Kelly was in his late teens, probably 17 years old. In 2080, I can't only assume that the screenwriters and possibly the producer want to ignore what happened in the third and the fourth film, and yet they managed to ignore what happened at the end of the highly acclaimed second film as well. To make matters even more John Connor was sporting a scar that he had from a Terminator in Terminator's 11. Go figure. Another matter is the script that I found confusing was the vision that Callie had recried from his childhood. How did he know that he worrying about Genesis had something to do with the Skynet? Or that another matter in the script that I found confusing was the vision that Callie and Harry craved from the childhood. How did he know that was worrying about Genesis had something to do with the Skynet? Or that Genesis was the beginning from of Skynet? How did he know that they had to go back to the year 2017 to that extra years? And there is the matter of the Guardian. I am speaking of the original Terminator T-800 who had been sent back to 1970 to save and protect a very young Sarah Connor. This happened to be one of the movie's major plot twists, since it never happened in any of the previous four films. The problem is that the movie never revealed who had sent T-800 back to 1917 and how did Sarah spend the rest of her childhood being resist and the emotion. This movie opened a new can of the worm that damaged its own movie. In Terminator 2, the male Stetson character's creator of the Skynet was killed by a member of the SWAT team in 1995 while he had the Connors were breaking into the cyber den if Sarah and the Kelly times jump erase the events of the Terminator 2. In Terminator 2, the missile descent characters was killed by the member of the SWAT team in 1995 while he had corners for the breaking into the cyber den. If Sarah and the Kelly times jumps erase the events of the Terminator 2, this would explain Miles Dyson appears once in this movie. Frankly, I wish he had stayed dead because Country B, Vance Wu Priority Dyson, was literally waste in this movie. And the movie allowed Dyson Do Danny, who was the portrayed by the Dane O'Kane, to be the force behind Genisys. And if this time jump allowed Dyson to remain alive, it's probably as the interior of 2004 and 2009 movie, along with the events of the Terminator, which means John Connor should have caused to exist by the second half of Terminator Genisys. Some fans claim that the Jones Fa there was the guy Sarah and had been dating before the met Kelly in the 1984 movie. But considering the change of events, name Sarah spending the rest of her childhood alongside an early adulthood with the Guardians, I guess that never happened, and since she and the Kelly times jumps before they could have conceived.